The court hereby sentences both of you to couples court due to the negligence of the spouse El Mongo.
Wait, this guy can't be for real. Whatever. It don't make a difference for me. Once I get home, that PlayStation's turning on. I don't care. I'm gonna get those talismans. Alright, let's get this started. Yes, Wilds. It has been on my mind since its very inception. I pre-ordered it, I downloaded it the day that it was available, and I played the hell out of this game. As of right now, I have over 500 hours clocked into the game, and I guarantee you there's people who played even more than that. Now I'm gonna keep playing the game, as I thoroughly enjoy it. But I can see why people don't like it. This whole video is just really about giving it a chance. I know a lot of people sold off the game, or they just didn't really think it was for them. And I think we should just really take back and take a look for what it is. So in this video, I just really wanted to highlight the best aspects of the game, without demeaning everything that everyone else has critiques about. Something that I don't think is talked about a lot in these games is the environment. Especially in Wilds, is a big upgrade. Having played 4U and Generations Ultimate, I can see where it all really came from. And of course, the biggest one being World, which I'm sure has been constant source of irritation for those that actually like Wilds, because inevitably it's always going to get compared to that. But something I wanted to kind of talk about that, I actually like the very different tone that they're going with in Wilds versus World. For example, the visual clarity, to me, I like it better here in Wilds than in World. There's something about World that seems very realistic in a way, and I appreciate more of these stylized models for Wilds. Now, realistically, there hasn't been many changes to Monster Hunter in terms of style until the new generation, which is obviously an upgrade, and even a few portable games, one notably being Rise, where they really changed things up. But what I really mean is that they didn't cater to the realism as much as they did in World, for example, as in Wilds. There's actually a subtle difference you can tell by the RE engine. It's not really talked about that much, but the idea of the monsters living a life prior to being decimated by you is important in terms of the world of the game. I think people get caught up with the idea that they're just here to be hunted, and it makes sense lore-wise that they're actually living outside of your little world. So for example, you have Rathian drinking water, kind of taking a shower there, or maybe Chemistries, Chotacabra going to the oasis and the spires. I mean, it's little things like this that really build the world around you, that let you know that these monsters really do have some meaning in life and balance. And although many people may not find that important, I think it is important to establish that there is a world outside of just you as a player. Where the game kind of messes up is that it kind of forces you to watch it all happen. I'm sure you've probably already heard of it, or you've probably already seen people complain the whole on rails portion of low rank. And to be honest, that was really stupid. The whole idea of the Scarret itself is kind of hampering the appreciation of the environment. I know the whole point of the Scarret was more accessibility, and while the Scarret is more accessible and more useful in the sense that it helps you play the game a lot easier, it has diminished the idea of appreciation to the environment. Because more often than not, despite these expansive maps, Wild kind of has you running as fast as you can to the monster no matter what. Whether that be quick traveling to other camp or just using the Scarret and autopiloting. Half the time I just zone out. I don't even pay attention to the other things or other monsters at all. So I kind of wish there was a middle ground to all that, but as it stands, I think the game is beautiful environmentally and its ecology is great too. I think that's something people should really pay attention to when they're actually accessing it as a whole as a game, instead of just saying it's a bad Monster Hunter. Now, something to do with the environments is something that I really dislike. It's the whole stupid rest system. I don't like resting in order to refresh the monsters. I really wish there was a better way to do that. I do like the idea of different time settings that you can set up your day to be. Whether I want to fight Chotacabra at night in the stars and we accidentally fall in the oasis together laughing and giggling. Or maybe I want to fight in the daytime a chemistry so I can cook them up later in a barbecue pit. I don't know. The idea that you can change the environment like that, that's great. I think that's awesome. Now, I really don't like the idea that you have to refresh, though. Why do I have to do that? Why do I always have to refresh in order to hopefully get the one monster that I want? Especially when it comes to the star system. You can't even dictate what stars it'll be. Maybe I only want to see 6, 7 stars. Maybe I don't want to see 9 stars the entire time. Some people are like that. Maybe I want to farm up some Hunter Symbol 2s or 1s. It's very annoying having to deal with that. And I wish you could at least dictate the amount of stars you can get in that rest period, I should say. I think that needs to be really reworked or changed to be a better way. Or at least more customizable. Right now it just seems like you have to hopefully pray that you get what you want. Something interesting I saw Rurukon's recent video that kind of mentioned how the Woodwoods do this offering, and he mentioned that what if you could offer up something in order to hopefully spawn in X monster more often or maybe less often. And I thought that was very interesting, because what if we use the monster parts for that? Because God knows I have over 100 Congalala tails or whatever the hell it is. Maybe I want to fight him more. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to see him. Something that makes it customizable to allow us to dictate what monsters we want to fight more often out in the field. That's something I think worth kind of looking into for Capcom. So I just mentioned the Scarret. In terms of accessibility, it's great. Now, a lot of people have been arguing that it makes the game too easy, that it's not very fun to run around the monster and heal or sharpen your weapon. Now, my reply to that is, in the older games, in order to heal or to sharpen weapons, the monster either had to be busy doing something else, or you had to find a short window, or you literally leave the area to go do those things. Now, what I want to kind of make y'all think for a second is, would you rather leave the area, thus leaving the combat, or would you rather get on the Scarret and still be in the combat watching the monster fight you? To me, I would prefer the second one. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it is something to think about in terms of taking yourself out of the combat of the monster. Now, I'm not going to deny that the Scarret is powerful. I don't think it's as broken as some people make it sound. But still, the point still stands. Its entire existence is predicated on the idea of staying within the range of the monster. And I think that's a good thing. Now, speaking of monsters, gotta talk about the new gimmick for this Monster Hunter. Now, it's no surprise that every Monster Hunter has a different way of introducing its gimmicks. So, for example, for you have mounting, we have GU with all the different styles you could use. World had a clutch claw and things you can do with that. So it's obvious that every Monster Hunter has got something. For Wilds, they decided to introduce focus mode and the wound system. Now, it has been a very controversial topic talking about focus mode. Now, I stand in the idea the player having more accessibility in order to do what they want to do is a good thing. I think most people can agree that focus mode by itself, without wounds, is okay. Some may hate it due to positioning issues that they've had when compared to the older games. Personally, I would prefer the idea of having more movement than not, but to each their own. Now, the real gripe of the issue has got to be wounds. And really, there's no defense of that. I don't like wounds. I think it staggers too much. I think that it actually immobilizes the monsters way too much. When you first get introduced in low rank, when you realize that if you focus on dealing those wounds, every monster's just too easy. I've thought of different solutions to these things. So, for example, I know a lot of people don't like focus mode when it comes to true charge slash on the great sword. So I thought, well, maybe you deal a little less damage if you use focus mode. So it incentivizes you to learn the actual positioning of that great sword. Now, I don't know if that's applicable to many other weapons, but it's little solutions like this that I think can really help people not maybe hyper focus on those focus modes. Now, with wounds, the solution I thought of, at least as you get higher and higher in the ranking, in high rank and eventually G rank or master rank, I personally think that wounds should not affect the monsters as you go higher. I think monsters, in fact, should get agitated right away when they get hit with the wound. I think that tempered wounds should not knock over monsters. I'm okay if it staggers, and we're talking about only tempered wounds, not the regular ones. But overall, I feel like if it's inflicted with wounds, it should get irritated and not weakened by it. Just to remind y'all, these are just, me spitballing here, little solutions, but I think it's something you can really work towards. It's not something that's set in stone, and I really think Capcom can really make something out of it. I think the idea of the monsters getting wounds is very interesting. Like, why wouldn't that happen? Of course that would happen when you were fighting a monster to the death. Now, how much it should affect it, that's the hard part, right? This is the first time they've really done anything like this, and probably will be the last, knowing Capcom. But I think in order to fix these things, hopefully by the end of either the title updates or maybe in the DLC, they can kind of improve upon this. By the way, a quick tangent here. Why are people so obsessed with this positioning stuff? Like, I get it, that's how the older Monster Hunters were, but in those older Monster Hunters too, the monsters would fucking turn like 35 degrees to hit you. It's stupid. And I don't want to live in an era like that anymore. Nobody ever complains how fast the monsters move now. People love that shit. So why is it that the hunter can't do something like that? I mean, I'm sure people complain in Rise and in GU about the movement and the speed of the game, but why is it all of a sudden a big problem in Wilds? You know, everyone loves those games. Well, maybe not Rise, but everyone loves those games. Like, a lot of people consider GU as one of the best ones. So I think it's kind of bullshit, to be honest, to be all of a sudden super into this focus mode and making it sound like it's the worst thing ever created in this game. Continuing on the topic of gameplay, they revamped a lot of the weapons in this game. There's been a lot of good changes, a lot of questionable changes, a lot of bad changes. Now, I for one am okay with change. I'm willing to try out all weapons, as I usually do. I particularly like the hammer and dual blades in this iteration. I don't like IG in this game. I know I'm not the only one. I don't like the loop it has. I don't want to put World on a pedestal, but I really preferred the IG in World much more over Wilds, for example. Does that mean it's a bad one? No, I just don't like it. Something else I don't like, I'm not a big bowgun user, but for example, there's a lot more customization in the older games for your bowguns. Like, what happened to that? In World, you could do so many different things and fine-tune your play style and choose whether or not you want to have a guard, or maybe you don't want to have it so you can be a little bit faster. Why did we take that away? That's just dumbfounding. That doesn't make any sense right there. Greatsword got kind of the best of everything, not gonna lie. You get an offset, you get a guard, you get perfect guard along with that. Only problem is you move like molasses with it. Some people don't mind that. They like to see the big number go up. Sword and shield, excellent changes. Mobility like crazy. You would think you'd be playing a dual blade set when you play sword and shield. Personally, it's my go-to whenever I go SOS hunting. I like to run Mushroom-Mancer with it, and I just try to heal people as I go with wide range. Great weapon. Initially, when I was playing Swax, I thought maybe, it has a chance. I thought maybe I was being too hard on it, so I played it for about over 50 to 100 hunts at this point, and it's not good. I don't like FRSing, forwardly slashing all the time just to get optimal damage off of it. I really wish they would play around with the switch of the axe with the blade. I don't understand why that's not more of a core object of the weapon. Like, I don't ever once thinking about powering up my axe mode at all. Why even have it at that point? Truth be told, I don't play Charge Blade, so I don't know. But I haven't really seen anything too bad about it. It seems kind of mid, but it's okay. Hunting Horn, probably the best Hunting Horn iteration, in my opinion. The inclusion of Echo Bubbles has really upped the game in terms of utilizing songs a lot faster. And then they have this new hilt stab along with it, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, the hilt stab has hyper armor on a regular attack. It's kind of wild. Longsword is it's okay. I don't really use it too much. Dual blades, excellent along with the bow. Perfect dodging, feels so beautiful, so awesome with it. I love it. It is a little bit too easy, but you can get one shot using those weapons, especially if you are too late with those dodges. Lance, it has some counters to it. It's not too bad, to be honest. It's not a bad weapon. It's okay. Gun Lance, just trying to do the same combo over and over again. I guess a lot of weapons are like that, but For some reason, it doesn't really click with me all too well. So while the weapons are pretty good, and I really like the new changes that they did to them, some good, some bad, but overall I think it is a better system in terms of functionality with the weapons. I gotta talk about it, the Arden's issue. I'm in the middle, whether I like it or not. On one hand, it does give you flexibility to make your weapons into whatever you feel like, whether they have more affinity, more element, more status, more this, more that. It does feel good to be able to do something that you want with the weapon. On the other hand, does it have to be the best? Always? I don't like that. The only few weapons I can think of that even are close to fighting against the Ardians are like the Lagiacrus's weapons. Those are the only weapons that even put up a chance. And with the new talisman systems, it does kind of give way to those weapons, monster weapons specifically. But overall, if you don't have an Ardian, you don't have the best in slot for your weapon. And I kind of have an issue with that. There should be some sort of drawback to using Ardians. It just feels a little unfair that the whole point of Monster Hunter is kind of killing the monsters and using their weapons and armor, and the Ardian system kind of takes away from that. And that's kind of lame. I don't like that. They need to somehow incorporate more of the monster parts into those Ardians. Maybe in the Master Rank update, they'll change some of those things, but for now, I'm not really too fond of it. Alright, time for the big doozy. The monsters. Personally, I like the roster. They're very beautiful, very vibrant. You got a lot of different types of monsters this time around. I love Lalabarina. I love Zhuwu. I love New Udra. Those are probably my favorite ones. Zhuwu being my favorite monster in the whole roster. There's a lot of diversity here, and that's something that I think is really cool. We also have kind of a semi-siege monster with Jindahad, which is a really great fight too. I don't think I've heard anybody really complain about that fight. Now, the flagship monster being Arkveld. Arkveld is okay. I don't like his fight too much. Now, I don't know if it's because we farmed him to hell. You know, especially before we had any title updates, he was kind of the monster to farm for late game. He just kind of became boring after a while. I don't know. It's a good monster, but personally, I like the Apexes better than him. For example, Gormagala, I think is more fun. Mitsu is more fun. But overall, I think all the monsters are pretty good. Like, for example, in a world, it's oops, all flying wyverns, and that was so disgusting. I hated that. In this game, there's actually a lot more grounded monsters as compared to World, for example. It's not all new monsters either. You got some returning ones from previous games, such as Blangonga, Kongalala, Gypsros, Hinkaku, Rathalos, and Rathian, of course. Those guys will always be in every single Monster Hunter game ever. Now, there was something I did want to highlight. In the ruins of Wyveria, you have guardian monsters. I like the idea of guardian monsters. They're constructs made by the village there, or the previous civilization. And they have Orugaron, they have a Dashagama, and they have a Rathalos. Now, the ideas of constructs are cool, yet they're not really fleshed out as much as I would like them to be. Right now it just seems kind of like a reskin. Now, some of them do have a little bit of variance in their movesets, but I kind of wish the constructs had majorly different aspects to them in terms of like elements or something, almost like a variant. Not only that, as it stands right now, they're very easy to defeat, mainly because they actually have these Wilk explosions that happens to them in their wounds, and it just renders them completely useless. I really think there should be a ramp up to these monsters or some sort of meaning behind them. Right now it just seems kind of like whatever, and people don't even really fight for them. So I feel like there should be an update for that. Overall, the roster for Wilds is pretty good. I don't have any complaints with really any of the monsters. Only upgrades that I wish would occur. For example, the constructs for one, like I mentioned earlier. That's something I wish would kind of go more into. Overall, I think Wilds did what it wanted to do. Although there are some things that were missing for some people's liking, I think it still did great, delivering what it was to be a Monster Hunter based game. With the title updates continuing on, it's still going great. So I think a lot of discourse might have been the initial beginning of the game, but just like every Monster Hunter, a lot of people complained. Lastly, I just want to hit it one more time. The performance issues are real. I don't have to deal with it, I'm on console, but I know it's something a lot of PC players have been, and that should not be disregarded no matter what. It is real, it affects a lot of people, and they cannot play the game. That is something Capcom should fix as fast as they can. Thank y'all who stuck around and watched the whole incoherent video I had of this, but it's just something I did want to talk about for a little bit, and I felt like throwing my own little pennies into this pool. Thank y'all for sticking around. I hope to see you next time.